Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of SeptumSin versus the world. Of course, this is a rare and strange little live stream as we celebrate my father's birthday, which has been the day of the Versus Awards. And I guess this is kind of a Versus Awards-like discussion if you really want to look at it that way. If you really want to think about it, in
a good way.
But this is one of those live streams that I want people to be able to be involved in. I'm going to be checking the comments out as we go. I am going to be doing this live. I'm going to be making sure that I don't rate it. I'm going to just run through.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
We're going to make sure that we get this thing right on the nose. So the Versus Awards have always been about honoring the best of the previous year's stuff. Usually anything from, in this case, it would probably be July or June of 2024 to June of 2025. But in this case, pretty much I'm looking at any film that has come out from 2024 to 2025. And I want to just, take a talk about some of the films, maybe highlight a couple films that you may not have seen, highlight some films that you may have seen. Now, of course, if you want to join the discussion and you are a Facebook friend, and I know you at least distantly, you're welcome to message me and I will send you the link. You're welcome to come on. And of course, if you're just watching the stream, you want to drop a comment now and again, there are the comments. I will be looking at them. Mike McNally actually dropped one before we even started the show. And we were hoping it's going to be a great live stream. It may just be me tonight, which, if it is me, then it is just me. But hopefully we'll have a few more. I think Jake is coming on a little bit later tonight, maybe about a half hour. And we're going to be talking a little bit about, those types of movies. So let's get started just in general. I think if this is something that you might just leave on, while you're doing your hair or whatever you want to do as you're going in. So looking through my own films, there were a couple of films. Like there's one film that not many people talked about, 2024 film by the name of Tarot. I don't know if many people know Tarot. It is an interesting thing. I think I'm going to go and I don't want to make sure it goes too far because otherwise I won't see what people are posting. But Tarot is this horror film that essentially is about these people. They find this strange tarot deck and it kind of predicts the future, but not in a good way. This particular tarot deck kind of curses people, and you have to predict your future in order to survive. It was an interesting thing. It was an odd horror movie to start the year on. And though it's not low budget, and I usually like to cover the low budget stuff on this channel. Yeah, I do. It's just how it is. I did like this film. I thought it was a fun film. It was well worth my time to watch. If you like a good horror film and you like it to get a little bit strange, a little bit creepy, it's got Final Destination vibes because everybody who had their fortune told ends up being, killed by their fortune, so to speak. It's kind of a cool film in that manner. I think it's well worth it. I mean, I'd probably rather watch Final Destination instead of that, but it is still a pretty fun film. So, to highlight Evan Jacobs on this stream, of course, everybody likes Evan Jacobs that's watched his stuff. I think he's a fun guy to talk about when he goes in there. There is a film that he did this year. The first film, I think, of 2020. No, not the first film of 2024, but one I saw from that year, which is called Shut Up and Get in the Car for the Last Time. Now, we had been talks about doing a trilogy set because there's 3 films. It's about these 2 brothers. One is like going to a holiday thing and they're kind of hooking up again and they're hashing it out in the car. And all 3 movies is about this. The third movie goes in a slightly different direction where they're hashing it out in the car, but the brother's having issues with some finances, and Evan Jacobs has got a guy who's going to help him, but they never seem to get to that guy. And this drives yet another fight between our two brothers. For those who love the talking style videos that Evan Jacobs has, these are pretty decent, actually, amongst those. I really like the chemistry between the two. It's much better than just having one person rant at the camera. As I say so, as I'm doing so. But still, it is a fun movie. It's very enjoyable, I think, overall. So let's see here. What is next? Stream. I really wanted to see Stream. It was one of those films that I thought was going to be pretty cool. I mean, it looked cool. It looked fun. And it's about these guys who end up being with this family, and they're working to get things done. They check into this hotel, but unfortunately this hotel becomes this weird version of the most dangerous game, and people are betting on Stream to see who is going to live, who's going to die, what order people are going to be killed on. It's actually pretty fun. I need to watch it again. I rented this one because I really wanted to see it. I knew the people who did, some of the people involved with it. I thought it was, it was decent. It was actually a decent film that was fun. I mean, for a 2024 film, it was one I waited a while for because I didn't want to pay $20 for it, and I'm glad I did not pay $20 for it. But still, it was worth checking out. Now, one of the films that we're into the low budget again is an actual Polonia film. For you Poloniacs out there, we're going to also talk about The Stalking. Now, The Stalking is this film about these kind of bewitched sunflowers who come out and they start killing people. One of our favorites on the channel, Kyle Rappaport, is in this one, playing one of the bullies. And I thought it was really good. Matter of fact, he plays the stoner bully, and one of the scenes in this film is actually quite hilarious. I love it when he's got sitting there and he's trying to smoke the weed, and he sees a bunch of sunflowers out there. They've all lit joints, the sunflowers have, and they're doing the weed, and he ends up being killed by the high sunflowers. I'm always taken aback by weird and strange scenes like that. So, yeah, not my most favorite film of the year by any stretch of the imagination. But as far as Polonia goes, I think the pacing was really good, and it was actually a fun story. And Polonia, one of his biggest weaknesses, I think, is his pacing. And sometimes he just kind of phones it in, I feel like. In this case, I didn't feel like there was a phoning in. I think this was actually a pretty well-done piece. And I was glad to see Kyle in it. I look forward to seeing more of Polonia's work with Kyle in it as it goes forward. I hope they continue to work well together. And again, if you are watching and you want to get on board, you can either send me a text, or you're welcome to, of course, comment. Talk about your favorite films, what you saw in 2024, 2025, what things stuck out for you this past year and some change. Because we had quite a bit going on. I will say that big time. So let's talk a really cool documentary, which is the In Search of Darkness 1990 to 1994. For those of you who really enjoy those types of films, those In Search of Darkness films, the trilogy they did for the 80s was really epic. They're very long documentaries. They're in-depth documentaries. They do a lot of cycling through different films with interviews. They talk about it, and they say, they pick a little topic, and they talk about the films that fall into that topic. Then they go to another topic, and so on. This takes place around the first 5 years of the 90s, and they're working for the other half of the 90s. And I really do think, of course, I'm a Gen Xer, so maybe that's why, but I always think that the 80s and 90s were really the true golden age of horror films. And I do look forward to seeing that latter half, because you got stuff like Scream, you've got stuff like Final Destination, you've got a whole bunch of stuff that comes out as we near the end of the millennia. Everybody remember Y2K, where we thought everything was going to crash when the clocks wound down and everything flipped over to zero? Well, Schmuckers remembers, as they say. Whew. Excuse me. But yes, I do believe that was a great set of documentaries. I am looking forward to the slasher documentary that's coming out. Their Terabytes was not so great, and that was more of a series than it was a documentary. I was hoping for more from a horror game series done by these people. I would have loved to have seen them really go all out. They did a good job, but not as good as I'd hoped. Whew. All right. I'm going to take myself out. So, one of the things that was interesting, I've watched at least one Phil Herman film this year, and there was one I was wearing the shirt for just today, and that is Phil Herman's The Unearthed. Now, this is another anthology movie. There's a lot of those that you see, and they're varied. One of the things I thought that was the best out of that was the Gravedigger. That character, to me, was one of the best films and best characters in one of these films. It was really good. A lot of the rest of it, it just it reminds me a lot of some of his other documentaries. I don't think anything can really touch how awesome the Horror Tales 666 films were. I would love to see another one of those. I mean, hey, Joel has already found himself abducted by aliens. I mean, what else can happen? I mean, it's happened to the Bad Ben guy, so it can happen to Joel. And again, some of these are decent enough. Excuse me. But at the end of it all, I really think that the thing that is most remembered by that is the Gravedigger character. Welcome, Jake. Help me preserve my voice.
All right, you've been going on 13 minutes, huh?
Yep, just 13 minutes of me straight talking about things I've watched in 2024, 2025.
Okay. Anything good?
And as always, if any of you, well, 0 people who are watching right now, there have been people coming on and off of the stream. But if anybody comes on and wants to watch or wants to talk, you can either comment, or if I know you enough, just send me a message and I will put you on the stream.
Okay.
But yeah, let me see. Was there any that I mean, I talked about In Search of Darkness, which I think which you've still wanted to see eventually.
Eventually. That's a really fucking long ass one, right?
Yeah, those are those long documentaries.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one that I have seen this year that I talked about that you would have been familiar with. But as in place of the Versus Awards, we're talking about films that we saw and enjoyed in 2024 and 2025. Well, for 2020, made in 2024, 2025, I should say.
Well, yeah, I still think it'd be better to try and keep it to 2024 so that we have something to talk about next year. But but I do have depressingly short lists made up for both, regardless. But
we might need all those lists.
Oh, believe me, I have a feeling that I will go through every one of mine, and you'll barely touch the surface of yours. Because for those who have not been paying attention to either this channel or the Inside Movies Galore, I've been in a bit of a crossroads for the past couple of years where I've gone from trying to imbibe every single film I can get my hands on to just trying to find interest in watching a movie. So the numbers have gone down, and that's one of the reasons I didn't push for the Versus Wars this year. I did not want to see them go. I was very sad when Brandon signaled for a couple of years they were on the way out, but I get his point that without other people participating, it was a lot of work for little payoff. But I just simply put, this may not be a complete list. It may not, but it looks like I have 11 features and one short film from 2024.
I have more short films than I have.
But that's it. 11 features and one short film. That is not enough to even pretend that I could run an awards show.
That's not even the best picture category.
Barely. And chances are, strangely enough, though, I'm willing to lay money that half of these movies are ones Brandon hasn't bothered to watch.
So you see, we've got ourselves enough variety between the two of us. Now, hopefully, we'll get more people. I've sent out invitations to some of the people that we both know. But again, anybody who's watching wants to come on, feel free. This open discussion.
We know Dave has something fun going on tonight, so
he's watching a Broadway performance right now.
I know. Well, off Broadway, but it's a Broadway. I guess it is theoretically a show that played on Broadway. Is that my understanding?
I want to see the off-brand Shrek.
Yes.
And if y'all really want to see one amazing award show that we put a hell of a lot of work into, you should check out our last year's Versus Awards.
Yeah.
We did a lot of work. We wrote segments. We did green screen work. We had different stories. We had little short films in there. It was actually quite an event.
We went all in. And one thing has not changed for me. A big change for me is not really giving a shit about awards anymore. But one thing that hasn't changed is I still believe in shouting out the good stuff. The stuff that maybe went under the radar or got overlooked or whatever. And, so there are certain things, certain fun things worth looking at. But anyway, so what's your thought here? Are we just randomly rambling about movies, or do you have a structure in mind? Or
I've been going down my list that I have written and just been kind of throwing out some of the stuff I've watched over the past year, whether I recommend it or not, and moving forward from there. Because I didn't know how long I was going to be on my own, and I go through them pretty quickly when I'm just me. So. Right. But and if we hit one that we both know, we can have conversation back and forth about it. And if it's one that I've heard of or that you've heard of, there's conversation to be had.
Sounds good.
I mean, I know one of my favorites of the year. I'm going to hold for a moment, but you might. If we end up getting together this Saturday, you might be able to see it, but it'll be a little bit too late for this show.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there have been a few that I mean, I've got a couple right now downstairs, sitting downstairs that I've checked out from the library that I want to watch, but I haven't gotten to yet. Dune Part 2 is one of them, and there's Kinds of Kindness was another one. There were a couple that I really genuinely wanted to see and just haven't gotten to. And then there are some streaming ones too, like A Real Pain was one that I definitely wanted to watch that I just didn't get to. And I think Criterion, if I remember correctly, the year's winner for animated feature at the Oscars, a Latvian film called Flow, I think just got a Criterion release. Yep. And so I'll be getting that in the November sale.
If I have money, it's on my list. That's for sure. That? If I have money, it's on my list. Yeah. And so is Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
That's in a Criterion release?
Yes, December release. So it won't be on the sale, but
really?
But yes, that is getting Criterion. Wow. It deserves it. It really does.
Yeah, no, I'll have to get that. Wow. But December, that means I might have to wait till next July on that one.
But still, it'll be worth it. It'll still be there. They don't go out as quickly as some. And that's Tim Burton's first film. So
for those unfamiliar with Criterion, which if you watch this channel, how could you be? But if for those unfamiliar with Criterion, part of their mission statement is to bring films into or keep films in print. They don't always succeed, especially when they go out on a limb and negotiate for films that have, let's say, controlling ownership. Managed to release WALL-E, but anything from the Disney Channel is going to be, or a Disney, anything that Disney owns is unlikely to get a Criterion release and extremely unlikely to stay in the Criterion stable long term. But they do get a lot of stuff that doesn't have strong ownership from other, so.
One of the epic things that happened this year was that Kevin Smith got the rights to Dogma back.
Yeah.
I do wonder, maybe one of the reasons why we haven't seen a 4K release is maybe he's trying to negotiate with Arrow or Criterion to get like a really epic release of Dogma.
I could see that. I think Kevin Smith seems like the kind of person that probably Chasing Amy had a Criterion release.
A really lame one.
It was a really lame one, but I could see a Kevin Smith treatment from Criterion, and I could definitely see it from Arrow. So yeah, he might be. And if not, Kevin Smith watching, that would be cool.
That reminds me, I need to go ahead and get that out. And speaking of Kevin Smith, for those of you who are interested in Inside Movies Galore, we are going to be headed back to Smith by revisiting Dogma, which is something that's fun.
Well, they already did Dogma.
Sorry, not Dogma.
You've got Clerks. Some others. Yeah. You got Clerks and the Jane Silent Bob movies coming up.
So the Clerks is Monday, and the reason for that is because we're doing the Clerks sequels, and one of our number has never seen Clerks, which is sacrilege. Sacrilege. Well, what's something that you have seen that has?
I'll go ahead and start with what I think was my first trip to the theaters last year. Maybe it was certainly. Again, it takes a lot to get me to the theaters, and there are a lot of movies I really wanted to go see Superman, and it just didn't happen. It just did not materialize. But every now and then, I get in my head that this will happen. And last year, early in the year, there happened to be a dual release of two very, 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 very different spy-related films. And I think in the last Versus Awards, I probably made mention of Spy Family Code White, which unfortunately I don't think ended up snagging any nominations, but I feel like I wanted to give it a shout out. That was technically a 23 release, although its American release was in 24. And it came out on the same weekend. And for those who haven't seen or read Spy Family, it's delightful. I have not seen the anime show myself. The movie was my first time, but I've been reading the manga, and it's so fun. But
player. That's one of the lines I always. There's two lines whenever I hear Spy Family. I think Papa's a liar and hooting.
Yeah.
Oh, it is fun.
So that was a more whimsical, fantastical spy adventure that happened to come out in the States on the exact same weekend as Guy Ritchie's spy-themed historical drama, which was loosely based on real events, that was called The League of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh, I saw that on the plane.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. It was a good one. It was not his best. Basically, not the League. Sorry, the Ministry. Sorry. Yeah. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, so the film stars Henry Cavill, Alan Ritchson, Isa Gonzalez, and some other folks. You got Carrie Oles in there, Till Schweiger, a number of people. To be honest, I do not have a lot of notes, so I'm not going to be doing a lot of specific, it should have been up for this award, or that sort of thing. But I will say that I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was pretty fun. It's not Guy Ritchie's best, but it's definitely not a bad movie by any means. And paired with Spy Family, it did make for a fun trip to the movies. And I just thought it was too hilarious that these two completely different spy movies came out at the same time.
It had a almost Inglourious Bastards feel.
A little bit.
Less Tarantino, but, still there was something there.
Ritchie and Tarantino both have their own unique flavors. But a Tarantino film when you see one. With Guy Ritchie, it's sometimes harder to tell. Like, if you didn't know he did Disney's remake of Aladdin, you probably wouldn't guess. But when you see the film that put him on the map, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, that is Guy Ritchie all the way, and most of his films at least have echoes of that. And the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare definitely has echoes of Lock, Stock. It's just, like I said, it was fun. It was a very scruffy looking Henry Cavill.
Yeah. Well, I have one for 2025 that I know you haven't seen, but I know you're familiar with.
Right.
It's an Evan Jacobs film.
All right.
It's called Pickleball Exorcist. Now, I know what you're saying. Pickleball Exorcist, that sounds horrible. Evan Jacobs, that sounds horrible.
Is that what people would say?
And I say, hold on. Not only are me and Jacob both in the film, we both have a, and we did not pay to be in the film, which is something that's unusual for half of these. We actually were asked to be in it, and we did record, and we did our own scene. It was fun. I thought it was great. I thought we did a great job. I was trying like an amateur exorcism on Jacob, and it didn't work so well. But it's about this guy who gets this possessed pickleball racket, and he starts killing people with it. And it gets wild. Like, he's like pickleball, like killing babies and stuff like that, and like inflatable babies and stuff. And It was wild. It was over the top. It was silly. It was just general fun. I think that if you're going to see one of Evan Jacobs' films for this year, that's probably one of my favorites of the year. Jacob's seen a couple of his films. Did you watch some of the Death Toilet stuff? So
yeah, I've seen the Death Toilet movies. Yeah, I've seen a few of Evan Jacobs' films. Yeah,
and when he wants to, he can make an entertaining film.
He can. I'm going to be honest, and Brandon's definitely a bigger fan of his movies than I am. But I will say two things about it, or three things about Evan Jacobs. Sometimes he can be very entertaining, as you just said. Either as a director, but also as an actor, he can be very entertaining. Two, he is a hardworking dude. What is he average 4 movies a year or something like that?
More than that.
he makes Woody Allen look like a slacker. I mean,
yeah,
so there was that. And he is genuinely a cool guy. I mean, I've chatted with him online. He has given us space in his movies. He's done stuff that he's been on Brandon's projects. He's a cool guy, and I will definitely give him that.
He was in one of the best scenes in Amityville Webcam.
Right. Which actually is a good segue. If you're done, I was going to go ahead and say one of the 24 releases I have seen was Amityville Webcam.
That was unfortunate.
Yes, directed by our own SeptumSin here. And yes, Evan Jake, if we had bothered with the Versus Awards, I absolutely would have lobbied for 2 inclusions in our best cameo category, which I still say the Oscars need to have a cameo category. Evan Jacobs was great. He really nailed his scene, and it was hilarious. It was one of the best parts of the film.
Troy the Axeman.
Yes, Troy the Axeman, chopping some wood, and then Mr. Anderson, Brandon's cat, Mr. Anderson, decided to photobomb a particular scene. And oh my God, that was great. Anderson had one of the best cameos of the year.
It was also Foo's last appearance associated with the channel because he died during the filming.
And I do believe Blanche and Rosie were in it too, right? I believe
all the cats were in that. So,
so there you go.
You have to hunt for Blanche and Rosie because they're kind of out in the air.
But yeah, so and also I've lost a lot of weight since we filmed those scenes. You starred in that particular film, and for whatever that will do for me. But yeah, Amityville Webcam, check it out. You got it on your Kanaki site, right?
Yep, it's there, or you can buy it on SRS. They do have it there. Mm-hmm. I will say
you can skip right to the scenes with Anderson and Evan Jacobs. Maybe the scene with Cody, that was pretty entertaining.
But Kim's scene at the beginning was good.
Oh yeah, there is that.
But I am directing another film, and Evan Jacobs has given me the opportunity to actually do a mainline film in his DV series. So, so we're hoping 2026 release. I'm optimistic, but every time I want to film, something comes up. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to. All I need to film is me. I'm the only person I need to film these next scenes, but even I can't get myself. I'm not available. So, it's kind of sad how that is.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find something else that is fun.
Okay.
If Kim comes back, I will hold for the discussion of Captain America, because I think that she would want to talk about that one because she saw that one with me in theater.
Well, and again, that's a 25 release. So if you really want to include both years, it makes sense to focus on 24 early on.
Well, One film I did see that finally released was Desert Fiends.
Okay.
Now, this was a film by Sean Cool Duder Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are familiar. I mean, shoot, we ourselves were kind of inspired by his channel to do our own.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of a combination of Wrong Turn and Hills Have Eyes, which I know that makes it something Jacob wants to see.
I was going to say you lost me at Wrong Turn.
It's a sort of horror comedy, and it's all right. It's mediocre, which is not bad. It has a couple of it has some somewhat big names in it for the micro budget field, and it also has at least one big name. And I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. Who was it that played Cousin Eddie?
Cousin Eddie?
Yeah.
Randy Quaid?
Okay, not Randy Quaid. I'm thinking of the other one.
The other one.
I always mix him up with another guy, and I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, but it was a guy who was pretty top billing. Now, the other thing that was good about Desert Fiends were the effects. The gore effects in Desert Fiends were quite amazing. I was surprised. Okay, Tom Arnold. I don't know why, but I always mix those two up sometimes. But yeah, Tom Arnold was the big billing actor in it. And Tom Arnold went from being disinterested to being oddly interested when he was doing strange stuff. When he was doing weird stuff, it looked like he was really into it. And he was just doing the straight acting. It looked like he was checked out. But the movie itself was not a bad film. I've seen the only other film that I've seen a couple of films. I can't think of the other one I saw. I saw one other film which I thought was okay by him. But the only other one that I can think of that stuck in memory was Amityville Karen, which is still to this day one of the worst films I've ever seen. So when I compare it to that, Desert Fiends is actually really good. It was entertaining. I would watch it again. And that says something. I mean, and I didn't think Desert Fiends was going to come out. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was going to be trapped in development hell. So, you know.
And now for something completely different. one that I'm quite sure you have seen. One thing that I will say, maybe not completely different in the sense that at the very least, this is one that from my perspective absolutely is a rewatchable movie. In fact, I have rewatched it multiple times. In fact, I think I saw it twice in theaters, which is amazing how rarely I get to the movies these days. And that, of course, was the Soul release last year in theaters from Marvel Studios, Deadpool and Wolverine.
That was fun.
Deadpool and Wolverine would have absolutely, in my mind, cleaned up in a couple of our versus award categories.
Cameos alone.
Yes, the cameos. That's a big part of it. The cameos. Channing Tatum finally got to debut Gambit on the big screen. And we were all very happy to see it. Plus, bringing back Wesley Snipes as Blade. Again, I saw this twice in theaters. And we had that reveal. You know, Jennifer Garner walks in as Elektra. Ooh. Channing Tatum walks in as Gambit. Wesley Snipes walks in as Blade. Everyone is like still.
Don't forget Chris Evans.
Well, there was that too. But like that big moment where they're all walking into the room, like both times I saw it in the theaters, people saw Wesley Snipes and they were like, holy shit. And I love that reaction. And I'm like, okay, I feel it, but I was amazed how much people were feeling it. It was like, But yes, Chris Evans also, they had that great bait and switch, that great fake out where Deadpool was going far, like going right in, all in, gaslighting the audience to make us think, oh, it's a Captain America. No, it's Johnny Storm.
It was a love letter to the
Yes.
Fox News superhero films.
Although one
Not
of
Fox
the
News, sorry, Fox superhero films.
the Fox X-Men and well, yeah, all the Fox ones, because Fox
Fantastic Four
and Blade and Daredevil, you know.
Daredevil.
Although they had a neat little they had a diss to Daredevil that was pretty fun. But I will say that to me, though, there was one glaring omission, and it came off as a little bit of an FU that was totally undeserved. And that was every single Fox Marvel film, I think even including Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, was in the end credits except for New Mutants. And I was very annoyed with them that they left out the New Mutants in that credits roll. That was uncalled for. And they should have brought in Anya Taylor-Joy as Magic, but she would have kind of negated much of the plot, so maybe that's why they didn't. But it would have been something. But I will also put out I will also give a shout out. Not only, I mean, Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. And Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine, finally seeing the two of them on screen together, you know, and their off-screen bromance going on screen in that was just a lot of fun. We got a cameo from Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan. Aaron Stanford came back as Pyro. Karen Sony came back as Dopinder. You know, a lot of people came back. We had a cameo of Henry Cavill as the fabled Cavalrine, which was interesting. But I wanted to mention one last one that, for whatever reason, my brain is not with me right now. Emma Corrin as Cassandra Nova. I thought she was a very interesting villain, and it's kind of fun seeing how she played it. And I did want to mention the poster. That poster they did of like the necklace with the broken heart, and one half is Deadpool, one half is Wolverine. I would absolutely have gone to the mat for that for our best poster design category. But anyway.
You know, one thing I would have fought for as a new award was most controversy surrounding film. And this one would definitely have had that.
Yeah.
For the whole Jason Baldoni shit.
Oh, well, that was technically more It Ends With Us. Or was it Ends With Us or It Starts With Us? I think it's It Ends With Us. They're both Colleen Hoover books.
But unfortunately, Deadpool was related to that because of Nice Pool.
Yes, Nice Pool. And I did not know about this until later. But that was more of the cameos. We had the Deadpool core shows up with the Mrs. Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively in there, along with Nathan Fillion and Matthew McConaughey. So that was kind of cool. But yes, this came out, was it 1 or 2 weekends before It Ends With Us?
You know, I never saw It Ends With Us. So
I didn't see that either. I kind of wanted to. I kind of wanted to watch them together, because this is one thing that should be noted from an historical perspective. You talked about the controversy, but from an historical perspective, I don't remember the exact statistic, but I think this is the first time in 40 years, maybe 50 years, that a husband and wife headlined 2 different movies that were at the top of the box office. And it was kind of interesting that their 2 movies came out at the same time, especially because they couldn't have been much more different. And I really did want to go see them as a twofer but it never happened. And I still haven't seen the Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover. Supposedly that one will go down as being better known for the controversy than anything. But anyway, that was enough on that one.
Well, instead of doing these micro budget ones, I will actually throw out something that's a little bit bigger budget. I did see Moana 2.
Ah, yes, as did I.
And I thought that was a decent film. It wasn't as good as Moana 1.
Right.
But damned if it wasn't one of the prettiest films of the year.
Oh, it was gorgeous.
And I got to give it that out of anything. The songs were somewhat forgettable. It was nowhere near, I'm sorry. What can I say except You're Welcome is one of the best songs of the Moana franchise, and that's hard to top. And that's plus, Sung by The Rock is actually very appropriate.
Yeah.
So, but I did feel like The Rock was barely in this one. He came in like halfway through the film.
Yeah.
And, it's essentially about her going to find out why they're the only people there and what happened to the other island people.
Right.
And
essentially the first movie was like her journey of self-discovery and finding out, like learning, turning from this insular life to reconnecting with her explorer roots. But this one was about her fully embracing what that meant and going out on a journey, and yeah,
it was a good film.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel like it just can't top the original.
Yeah.
And that's one of the differences between Disney and Pixar in some ways, is Pixar has managed to top their originals pretty well with certain sequels.
With certain ones.
Well, mainly it was just Toy Story.
And they're still doing Toy Story 5, and I just don't know, man. I'm like, the way they ended 4, I really don't know.
Now that I think about it, I think Toy Story is the only sequel that was better than the original for Pixar.
Well, I would argue on 2 of them, maybe, but mostly, yeah, not as much.
Because Monsters, Inc. was better than Monsters University.
Oh, no doubt.
Cars was better than the other 2.
Yes, but I will argue that Cars 3 was almost as good as Cars. It wasn't quite as fun, but it was almost as good a movie. Cars 2 was definitely the weak one.
Finding Dory was nowhere near Finding Nemo.
No.
I'm trying to think of the... Incredibles 2 was about even with Incredible.
Yes.
So I will give it that.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of were there any other sequels?
Well, there's one more that I'll mention momentarily, but not just yet.
And and we say this as Zootopia 2 is about to release,
which is technically Disney, but I've said before Zootopia was their first Pixar film,
and it could top.
It could.
But a lot of times when it come from Disney, I don't recall many of the Disney sequel animated ones that have topped the originals. Frozen 2 certainly did not top Frozen 1.
I still need to see that. And I still haven't seen Ralph Breaks the Internet either. Need to.
I like that one. Actually, that one was close.
Yeah. I love this scene with the Disney princesses. That's the only part I think I've seen.
So it's possible. I do love a lot of Disney stuff and animation still.
The Rescuers Down Under. That was a classic.
Okay, yes. You had to go back a ways, like 40 years. Actually, no, 30 years, because it was 90s, wasn't it?
I think that was the last one they did before they started doing straight to video all the time.
And I did like Return of Jafar, but it did not top the original.
I loved Return of Jafar, but I will admit there were elements of it that probably didn't age well. But yeah, it was good. But I will say I did see Moana 2 as well, and I will agree. The original was a classic, and the original came out the same year as Zootopia, so that's like one of the best years Disney's ever had, I think. But a big part of two big explanations, two big, and not just the whole sequel effect, but Moana was originally supposed to be a Disney Plus series, and then they decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and make a movie instead. And the way the movie ends, it's clear they plan on a Moana 3. So they're still keeping that episodic series feel, and that might be why the first movie was more self-contained. So maybe that's part of the reason why the second one falls a little shorter. And then the other big reason is the music is forgettable in part. It's not fully forgettable. It was good, but it doesn't have Lin-Manuel Miranda this time around. He did the music in the first one. He did the music in Encanto. And I do believe those are two of the best soundtracks Disney has ever had. And so who did the soundtrack for Moana 2? I don't remember. It wasn't as good. That's for sure. It wasn't bad. And I will say, even with the first movie, that song Shiny kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. I did not think much of it. But I agree. You're Welcome was pretty top notch. Mark Mancina did the music for this one. Yeah. So, did you say something? Sorry.
And that song fit The Rock very well.
Yes, it did. And he gets a song in this one, but I don't remember it. But yeah, it's a good song. It's a good movie. It's a lot of fun. I agree. The visuals were gorgeous. Like again, if we were still doing the Versus Awards, actually, it looks like music, and I said the music was by Mark Mancina, but looking at IMDb, it looks like the lyrics are by Opataya Hawaii and by Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, depending on the song. They're I guess the three who do the music. But if we were still doing the Versus Awards this year, I would absolutely have pushed for this one for animation and film. Because, yes, it is a gorgeous movie. They did really good with that. And it was good. Did you have any more on that one before I pop into the Oh, you ducked out of here. He's buggered off. Yeah, yes he has.
I got kicked out of my own stream there.
How'd you manage that?
Well, I must have violated my own policies there.
I guess. Did you have any more on Moana?
That's it for Moana.
Okay. So
you got something else? Throw it out there. Well, I'm looking.
I'm going to use that as a springboard. Into one of those Pixar sequels, because last year was also the release of Inside Out 2, and Inside Out 2 was it was pretty good. I mean, I would argue the first Inside Out was an absolute classic, and it really didn't need a sequel. But the idea of updating it to the rush of emotions that a teen will feel, I think, was a pretty good idea. It was a pretty good concept. And I thought it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I would say it was better than Inside Out, but
that was fairly early 2024. It was summer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was early summer, I think. Actually, I want to say it was right around the time Deadpool came out, and it was another one I really wanted to go see.
It just missed the cutoff for that year's awards by like a month. because I think it came out in July or something. Because I remember watching it in theaters,
Right.
and I was very impressed by it.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good, solid film. I really did enjoy it. It would again. I don't know if I thought it was better than the original, but let's see. So who were the so the original Inside Out, of course, is inside this girl's head. What was her name? The girl's name was I'll hopefully think of it. But well, I would look it up, but the computer is being very annoyed at me right. Oh, here we go. So we had the this girl Riley.
Yeah, Riley.
Originally, we had joy, disgust, anger, sadness, and joy. What was the other one? Was fear.
Anger, anxiety, joy.
No. Some of these are the new ones.
So like
anxiety.
Yeah.
So
shame,
joy. Joy was Amy Poehler. Disgust was Laza Lapira. Lewis Black was Well, again, I'm trying to say the first ones first.
Okay, that's why I said disgust.
Right. So the you got Lewis Black as anger, which is appropriate. Tony Hale's fear. Phyllis Smith is sadness. This one introduced envy, who's played by Ayo Edebiri. Anxiety is played by Maya Hawke. Ennui was Adele Exarchopoulos.
I think they did a good job as Ennui.
Yeah. And what was the big dude? Embarrassment.
Yep.
Was played by Paul Walter Hauser. And they were appropriate teen emotions. But basically, the idea is the five stalwarts have gotten into a rhythm and understand each other and everything. And then these others come bounding in out of nowhere. And basically, for all intents and purposes, the plot could be summed up as anxiety tries to hijack Riley's brain. I think that's probably the simplest way to put it. And it's interesting. It can be an uncomfortable watch at times, but, it's good. And again, this was a sequel that I did not expect or think. Moana 2, I kind of expected because Disney, and because Moana is so popular. But story-wise, both of these were kind of unexpected. Like, where are you going to go after the first movie? And I think in both cases, they did a pretty good job of justifying the existence of the sequel. So, yeah, I was good. And solid Pixar film, probably not as great as some of their very, very best, but, pretty solid. Anything you wanted to add on that one? I think you said, yeah. I think he's wandered off again.
Sorry, I had cat distractions.
Oh, well, they'll do that. Hi, cats.
So, yeah, I thought that Inside Out 2 was a really good movie. Mm-hmm. I liked the what was that one? Nostalgia, voiced by James Webb. I thought it was cool.
I forgot about Nostalgia. Yeah, she comes wandering in, and then they're like, no, it's too early. That was pretty good. She was the one that was like the little old lady, right?
Yeah, there's some plot holes to it. Like, if you had all these emotions, how come they're not existent in the adults?
Yeah.
Others, but again, I think that any type of movie like this is always best observed not second guessing things.
Well, actually, you bring up a good point because I think one of the best parts in both Inside Out movies is when you get a peek in her parents' brains, and you get to see the control center there. And yeah, when you see all these new ones in her brain, you're like, why don't her parents have these emotions?
She's special.
Yeah.
So when I got on the plane from Europe, because 2024 I did go to Europe, and I got to see some 2024 films. I got to see 4 of them, matter of fact.
Oh.
One was the Extraordinary Gentleman one.
Extraordinary Gentleman.
I also saw Furiosa.
Oh, that one was that 24?
Yes.
Oh, I knew
I had to double check.
I knew I was going to forget one. Yes, I did see Furiosa.
Now, Furiosa was one I looked at and I realized, okay, I can get this on Blu-ray because a lot of the stuff, I don't know if you ever see something in 4K and you think to yourself it needs to be a little bit grittier for it to look more realistic.
Yeah.
That's how it looked for me for Furiosa. When I watched it in 4K, the CG stuck out from the rest of it and it didn't feel like it was in the movie. But when I watched it again on Blu-ray, it actually did fit in better into the movie.
Okay.
And of course, Furiosa is about the main character, Furiosa, who was pretty much the main character of Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah. I think technically Tom Hardy's character was the central one, but she was right there and everyone talked about her.
I thought it was okay. I know a lot of people considered it one of the best of Mad Max films and all that stuff. To me, it still felt, it smacked of that, well, she was born and she's perfect, but people keeping her down from being perfect. So self-confidence makes her perfect, but in a darker way. So it still felt like that Disney formula.
Yes,
but,
Disney film
a darker setting, a little bit of a darker setting.
Yes.
That said, it had some points I liked, had some characters I liked. It is not my favorite Mad Max film, but if I was to rank them, I would put it above the original Mad Max.
Right.
But that's as far as I would go. I liked all the other Mad Max films better. But to me, it just felt like, I don't know. I thought it was good at points, and I thought there were some fairly good characterizations, but I wasn't as impressed as everybody else was with it. So, but that's just me. I was kind of there. Now, do I think some of the special effects looked really good? Actually, I'm surprised because I think that one came out early enough in the year that it might have made the Versus Awards for 2024.
It shouldn't have. You remember the rules. They should not have had any 24 films in that discussion.
Okay, so
yeah. It didn't come out until May. It came out in May. So
okay. So it would definitely have been in there for the effects and the costume design, to be sure. But to me, I thought Fury Road was a better film. And a better Furiosa.
I'm surprised by the extreme disconnect between the ravings for Fury Road and the generally positive buzz of this one. It's like, and I come at it a little differently. I never gave 2 shits about the Mad Max series. I've enjoyed them when I've seen them, but I didn't grow up watching them. And so I don't have that nostalgia that a lot of people do. And I did see Fury Road in the theater, and I was deeply impressed. But I thought, why is everyone raving about this like it's the best movie ever made? It's good, but not that good. I really, really, again, I really liked Fury Road, but I did not get the hype behind it fully. Do I think that Fury Road and Furiosa are better than most of the old Mad Max movies? Unquestionably. And do I enjoy them more? Unquestionably. But I could see how someone who grew up with the older ones, the nostalgia value would absolutely even things out. Personally, I liked Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa more than I did Charlize Theron. I thought she did a better job, but I liked Theron in the role. And I really enjoyed Chris Hemsworth's character here, Dementus. He plays a sort of an anti-Thor character.
Yeah, I like that. I like that character.
Yes.
Let's say I like the side characters better than I like
Yes.
Furiosa herself.
Yeah.
I felt like Furiosa was that perfect character.
Yeah, and again, I'll say she's an interesting character in the sense that she is a badass that you would not want to cross.
Mm-hmm.
And you root for her. You want her to, but yes, she probably could be, she's the hero with big bold letters,
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it's not always the most interesting character in the movie. I'll admit that. But yeah, I did enjoy it. I thought it was good. I can believe. I joked earlier. I made a list of the movies, and I was like, we're going to finish our discussion, and I'll remember 2 movies I forgot. I'm still thinking that's going to happen, but this is one that I definitely forgot. Yeah, there's one. But but anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But speaking of overrated movies, maybe I should go ahead and talk about the movie that won the Oscar for Best Picture, Anora. Did you end up seeing that one?
Anora. What was that about?
That was the one where Mickey Madsen won Best Actress for playing a sex worker who gets kind of adopted, if you will, by a flighty Russian oligarch. And it was kind of billed as an anti-Cinderella story, I guess you could say.
Nope.
And it's by Sean Baker. And I got to say, Sean Baker is an indie director who is very, very highly regarded. Very highly regarded. But talking about overrated stuff. 2 years ago, I think it was, I watched his movie Red Rocket. And the only reason I watched Red Rocket was I had heard some buzz about it, but it was one of the only films I could find where I could find a budget listed under $1 million, which meant it qualified for our low budget feature category. And Red Rocket was all right. It was good. It was fun, but it was the one of the 4 I've seen by him that flew almost fully under the radar of Oscar and everything else. The first one, Tangerine, I did not get into. I did not love it. I believe that it had a lot of themes to do with transgender characters, and I want to say actually that it starred a couple transgender actors. And that's probably why, to be honest, that's probably why it got as much buzz as it did. The movie left me cold. I wasn't interested in it. The Florida Project got an Oscar nod for Willem Dafoe, and I thought it was good, but I couldn't see how Willem Dafoe got a nod for that with all the many movies that have been ignored. And he's had a lot of good roles that have been ignored. And then we have Anora, which not only won Best Actress, Best Picture, it won 5 Oscars. It was up for a ton of Oscars. It was up for like 11, I think it was. It won Director for Sean Baker, won Screenplay for Sean Baker, and it was up for 6. And won Film Editing for Sean Baker. The only thing it didn't win was Supporting Actor for Yura Borisov. And
because it wasn't Sean Baker.
Hey, right. Well, Mikey Madsen isn't Sean Baker either, but and there was a lot of controversy over her win. Let me just say, I enjoyed Honora. I enjoyed it as much as the other 3 Sean Baker movies I saw put together. Probably more. I actually genuinely liked the movie. It had a couple of really good laugh out loud moments. It had a pretty decent plot overall. The acting was solid all up and down. Whatever controversy about Mikey Madsen winning, I do think she deserved to be singled out for her performance. I just don't know if she deserved a win for it. But she gave a solid performance. I really liked the character Yura Borisov played. Do I think it was an Oscar-level performance? Maybe, but I liked the character. The guy that she actually hooked up with was a douche, and there were elements of the story that were not pleasant. It was good. It was one that I did get to see because Criterion released it. Before that, it was just on streaming. So thanks to Criterion for picking up some of these streaming films that wouldn't get a release otherwise. It's very much worth a look. Was it worth the hype? I have my doubts about that.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I'm skipping ahead out of the 2 that I did watch on the plane to one that I did want to point out that I thought was really good. It was a horror movie that Kim and I watched not too long ago called Afraid.
Okay.
Now, Afraid...
Is that AI one you were talking about? Yeah.
It's about this family that adopts this AI into their house, like Home Assistant. But find out that once they look at it and they feel it's a little bit too helpful, they start to realize, no, we don't want this. But the AI has different plans. This movie, to me, is a fairly scary and realistic way that AI could take over. And not necessarily be Skynet, but still be this eerie kind of nasty thing.
Right.
Where it decides it's going to be society's mother in that sense and govern what they can do. Which is very different.
Yeah.
It is very disturbing, very creepy in points, and very well written. I was very impressed by it. The acting in it was actually quite good. Let me see if I can get the... because it was, what was his name? John Cho, for instance, who has been in other less serious films.
Milf.
He did a really good job playing a serious role here.
Yeah.
He did a very impressive job. Even the character that was playing the AI did a really good job with that. It was very intriguing. It had a lot of twists and turns and a few things that I wasn't able to see in front. And sometimes that's a big thing for me, is I'm not able to predict it all the way. So it did really hit me in a way that I'm not used to being hit. So I think Afraid, if you guys, that's one of the recommendations I would definitely give out of 2024 films, is Afraid. I would have definitely put that up as one of my tops.
Okay.
For 2024. Because AI is getting like that. I mean, I don't know if you saw the news story, but they've already come out with a digital actress.
I did see that. I saw something about Emily Blunt. It was like going on about, this is horrifying. And I'm like, yeah.
It claims like, well, she's not going to replace regular actresses, but they're actually trying to get her an agent to have her replace regular actresses.
Yeah.
So that eventually you can just have, and I mean, it's what most the movie industry, Hollywood is getting to the point where they want AI to get to that point where it's just the executives.
Yeah.
They write the buzzwords in, they get a movie, they move on. They don't need writers, they don't need actors, they don't need unions. It's just the rich executives making tons of money.
I'm a little surprised this hasn't happened before because there's already AI musicians. I mean, that's what the whole Vocaloid thing in Japan is about. You know, Hatsune Miku is a huge star over there, and she doesn't exist.
But there is still humans behind her.
Yeah, true.
Whereas here, there's no humans behind her at all. It's just an AI that they wrote.
Oh, wow.
The only humans behind her now are prompts.
Yeah, that'd be a little scarier. That's true.
She's actually so complex that she can have conversations and do interviews.
Wow.
So yeah, this is getting pretty scary, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to see there's not going to be any new movies out there with any real actors, writers. It's just going to be a bunch of executives doing prompts into a machine. And at that point, I'm going to be real. It's like I've got a big backlog of movies and a lot of stuff. I think I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I think that's will be when I actually walk away from film entirely, or new film entirely. Because if there's anything that I think is poor for the industry, it's the executives.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely high on the list.
So, you know, I worry about this thing, but what can you do?
Yeah.
I know SAG has come out against it, so that's there. So right now, no SAG affiliated project will employ her.
Well, that's good, at least for the time being. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, maybe she'll get work doing government propaganda or something. Which, okay, so that kind of leads into a say. Speaking of movies that are scary for how realistic they are. B, executives getting in the way of things and mucking things up. A movie that came out last year controversy. A movie that came out last year that was highly controversial for its very existence. But then when it came out, it kind of faded into the background because people saw it and went, well, this actually wasn't as bad as we thought. Like, you know, it kind of pulled its punches a little, you know. And so part of the controversy became, why didn't the movie have sharper teeth, you might say? Was one I finally got around to watching recently, and that was Alex Garland's Civil War. Have you gotten to that one yet?
Nope.
So Garland, of course, did an extraordinarily provocative sci-fi horror film about, AI, essentially, with Ex Machina, a different form of AI, but still, that was kind of in there. But with this one, he went for a much more grounded approach of, for all intents, and if I remember correctly, I think Garland's father was a journalist or something. So the movie was intended, from what I understand, to be sort of almost a love letter to journalism. But it doesn't really come off that way. The main character is played by Kirsten Dunst, and she comes across as pretty cold and detached. But you find out pretty quickly that you kind of have to be in her line of work. But the basic gist of it is the U.S. is embroiled in civil war. The quote-unquote Western forces, if there's any part of the film that comes across as unrealistic, and I think this was intentionally so because he didn't necessarily want to step on a landmine right out of the gate. The Western forces are California and Texas. So let's just say that's a team up that seems unlikely nowadays.
Yeah.
But the Western forces are one of several separatist movements, but they are the one that the federal government has zeroed in on as like are the enemy. But as I understand it, the Southeast is also a separatist movement, and there's a couple of others as well. And the president is played by Nick Offerman. He has a very small role in the film, but his actions loom large over the whole thing. And very little is really explained, which is one of the reasons why the film got a lot of criticism. Was people were like, you really could have gone deeper on this, but I think the point wasn't to get people riled up about specifics. But anyway, I thought they did a fair job with presenting this sort of more. It comes across almost as more of a jaded documentary of a war zone, which I guess is probably what they were going for. That's my thought. But anyway, you're following 4 journalists. Lee, who's played by Kristen Dunst. Joel is played by Wagner Moura. Jesse is played by Kylie Spaney. And Sammy is played by Stephen McKinley Henderson. He is the old guard. He is a guy who's been around for many years. He is probably set to retire. Jessie is brand new, right out of the gate. She is raring to go, and she idolizes Lee, like hero worships Lee. And Lee and Joel are a duo who have been together for a while. And this is kind of a weird observation, but I've never seen a Kristen Dunst movie where she really fully looks like a grown-up. But she looks like, she's about my age, I think, or a little older. So it makes sense that but I don't think I've seen a movie with her in it. Anyway, it's interesting. It's mostly they're basically, it starts off, I think, in Pennsylvania or New York, somewhere around there. They're trying to get to DC. They go the long route because it's the safer way to go. They go through West Virginia. And one of the creepiest parts of the movie is where they go through a West Virginia town that looks perfectly normal until they see the snipers on the nearby roofs. And it's like, okay, yeah, I could see this actually happening in a place like West Virginia. Basically, it may have been one of the more pointed commentaries in the film. And then this guy, in one point, I think it's in West Virginia, they come across this guy who's played by an uncredited Jesse, what's his name? Jesse, why am I drawing a blank on his name?
Probably not Eisenberg.
No, it's not him. It's that guy who's in a lot of stuff nowadays.
Well, that works. Yeah. The guy who does the thing.
The guy who was in that movie with that other guy. Oh man. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank and I feel horrible. Jesse Plemons. Oh man. And he's got these like hot pink sunglasses on. It's like, you've probably seen this still frame because it's a famous scene in the movie, but he only shows up for this brief role as a militia member, armed to the teeth and no nonsense. And he is one of the scariest things in the film. And Plemons is a solid actor. So it's pretty solid. So overall, yeah, it was a somewhat disappointingly toothless film compared to what I had expected going in. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. And the controversy was overblown. A lot of it was people who had no freaking clue what it was they were getting on
Most
a
of the controversy like this around movies is from people who have
Yeah.
never seen any of the films.
right.
Or
And of
read
course,
it.
they did release a movie called Civil War during the presidential election. So, and there were reasons why people were on edge about it. But yeah, I think that the controversy was overblown. But the movie is worth a watch. And had we done the Versus Awards, I think I would have put it up for a few of them. But
You know, something I had forgotten about that goes at the end of 2024, whereas
Yeah.
webcam came at the beginning. Another one of our number, Dave Streggy,
mhm.
released his film
Okay.
late that year called Tales of the Forgotten Act 1.
Hmm.
Now, Tales of the Forgotten, it has no, it doesn't have you in it.
No, I don't think I was part of that.
You're in the second film,
Okay.
sort of. You play God.
Ooh.
You're in like 5 seconds of the film,
Hmm.
but you are in it. Which, by the way, both the first and second film are available in the link down below, along with Amityville webcam. So
Okay.
they're all there. And Jacob has both films. I know because I gave him a copy of both.
Who knows when I'll ever get to them? Those were long ass.
They are very long films. The second one's not as bad as the first one lengthwise. But for a first effort, I guess it's not bad. I mean, I edited the first film, though it was to Dave's,
Right.
What's the word? I mean, I did do it to his specifications.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some fairly good short films in it. And Philippe does a good job as the announcer. There's just a little bit too much when it comes to the first wraparound, because the first wraparound is almost 30 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of crawls around and it goes between horizontal and vertical filming. You know what I'm talking about. Basically, goes from TikTok to theatrical, to TikTok again. So those are some issues. And yeah, I thought that it had some pretty decent ones in it. Like Pandora was pretty good because it has a basis of Pandora's box. It has a pretty good there. Damwich is my favorite. It's about an evil sandwich from hell that possesses its eater.
Forbidden sandwich.
And it was hilarious. I mean, it really was. I mean, there's one called Tough Cookie that is very Tarantino-esque. So there are actually a number of them that were pretty good. I think that you would like some of the short films, but it's one that you would have to watch in like sections. It's not one that can easily be watched in one sitting. But one great thing about those is that you'll be able to do that because you can just stop after a couple short films. That's one of the great things about it.
I don't like doing that with movies, though. I really don't. Especially if there's a wraparound, it really does feel like it's one film. If that's the case.
Well, out of what I said, I wouldn't necessarily bring it up, but I do feel I should because it is Dave's film. It is his film debut for theatrical first film, and I feel like I should at least say it. And I've watched the film like 3 or 4 times now.
So you said that, so that got a theatrical release?
No, I'm saying, I wish it did, but I should have made it like it's his first like
feature film
release.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's there.
Okay.
And a lot of the shorts in it are of quality. So, it's a mixed bag.
Right.
And if y'all want to know more on this very channel, I did a very thorough review. It was 30 minutes long about it. And I did not pull my punches. I love Dave. And I told Dave, I can't be falsely positive about this film. He said, I don't care if you're positive or not. I just really want a review of the film. I'm like, okay, that's what you want. And that's what I did.
All right.
But just to say, I did mention it. And it is worth watching in chunks.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, one that you don't have to do in chunks because it's much, much shorter. Since we've been doing the Versus Awards, I've actually found that I quite enjoy watching short films. They unfortunately can be very hard to find sometimes. And that's one thing that really makes them a pain in the ass when it comes to trying to be up for award shows. But in terms of just watching them, it can be fun. The only thing is, my general malaise toward watching films went over to short films as well. And the only one that I saw that's definitely a 24 release was one that I kind of happened into. It actually was one that, to be honest, I watched it with my mom. She's a quilter. That's her. She does it with church. It's one of her big pastimes. And there was an award-winning documentary that came out last year that was on Netflix called The Quilters. And someone told her about it, and she told me about it, and we watched it. And I'm like, okay, this is a good movie. I enjoyed it. And so basically, yeah, it's called The Quilters. It's on Netflix. It's a 33-minute short. And it basically takes place in Missouri, of all places, which I saw this and I'm like, I can't believe this takes place in Josh Hawley's state, to be honest. But basically, it takes place at a maximum security prison where people, some of them with violent offenses, are allowed to spend their time making quilts for charity. And it's a pretty good little doc. It really very interesting. You follow a few of the guys as they go through some of their projects, and you get a basic feel for the program. And it's one of those ones that kind of comes close to feeling almost like an infomercial for this program, but I'm not really sure how you do a documentary like this without that vibe, you know what I mean? But it does do a really good job of making a nice little movie out of something that I did not realize was a thing. Like I said, in Missouri, of all places. It was pretty interesting. And like I said, it's on Netflix. It's only a half hour. So if you got some time to kill and you want to watch something fairly educational and bittersweet, but mostly uplifting, I'd give it a go.
Well, on the plane, I watched the first Omen.
Oh.
Which is a horror film for 2024, basically talking about the birth of Damien. Mm-hmm. And my wife liked it better than I did. I thought it was fairly well done. I mean, you've got this nun, and she comes to this particular convent, but there's something very Rosemary's Baby-esque about this convent. And the scene at the end where she's having the baby is disturbing as all hell. I won't say it is. But otherwise, it was an okay movie. It was okay. It was better than some of the Omen movies. It was not as good as others, but it does have a lot to it that makes you think. And I wonder if they were trying to reboot the series again with this. I could see that. But Like I say, acting was good. It had a general creepiness. I wasn't as into it except for up until the end, which it was very disturbing, but it still wasn't a bad movie overall as far as horror films go. Have you heard anything about any buzz around The First Omen?
Not really. I wouldn't honestly been paying attention, but because I can't. Did you show me one of them at some point? Because if you didn't, I don't think I've ever seen any of them.
I'm surprised I would be surprised if I haven't shown you at least The First Omen, because The First Omen is a classic.
Well, you wouldn't. Well, you're calling this one The First Omen, right?
Well, I mean, like the original Omen.
Okay. Yeah, you might have. Or, I mean, I could see that being one that maybe Kim insisted on us watching or something. I don't know. Or if you did it, did you do that with the movie game? Maybe you did.
Maybe. I don't know. The original. And again, I get booted from that.
Once again, booted from your own thing.
They must really love The First Omen here at StreamYard.
I guess.
It kicked me out. But yeah, I really liked the original Omen movie. It did really hold me. It is really disturbing. And the remake was not bad either. But this one was okay. It wasn't like the best, but it was okay. There's another film I'll talk about. I've only got really 2 more films that I watched it for 2024.
Okay.
One of them is a child's film. One of them is not.
Well, 2024. I've just got a few left too. So I guess we're almost about even.
Yeah, we can just end that for 2024. Maybe what we could do is we'll get through these last couple, and then we'll both put one film forward from 2025 that impressed us, and then we'll end like that.
Well, we could do that, I guess. And I know we've got a lot of overlap for 2025 because I think you've seen most of the ones I've seen, and vice versa. But anyway, so one that sounds like it would go along with The First Omen or the Omen series thematically. The title sounds like it, but I'm willing to wager it wasn't actually that close. It was the John M. Chu directed take on the smash Broadway play Wicked, which I did see finally not long ago, which actually is one of those things where it's probably a good thing I waited because the sequel comes out, I think, in November.
I was going to say, that's very shortly, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that big of a wait. Like if I had seen it and this was another one I wanted to see in theaters. I meant to see it in theaters. It's probably worth seeing in theaters. But I will say if Wicked for Good comes out and they do a double bill, I might try to do that. That might be it'll be long. The first movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes. And I think IMDb has, what did they say the second one is going to be? I don't know if they've posted they're saying 2 hours and 18 for the second one. So if you did a double bill, be prepared to be there for a while. But the movie is pretty solid. You've got, of course, Elphaba, who would later become known as the Wicked Witch of the West, who's played by Cynthia Erivo. You've got the Galinda, who later to be known as Galinda, the Good Witch of the East, I believe, who's played by Ariana Grande. You got Jeff Goldblum as, for lack of a better way of putting it, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I don't remember his full name, and I'm not going to try. Madame Morrible is played by Michelle Yeoh. You've got Jonathan Bailey as Fiero. Dr. Dillamond is voiced by Peter Dinklage, and so on and so forth. You've got a number of folks in there. It was a very, very visually interesting movie. Very visually colorful, lots of decent effects, a lot of choreography, all that kind of stuff. Some solid musical numbers. I think most people who have no freaking clue about Wicked have at least heard parts of Defying Gravity. I think that's
Glee did it.
What's up?
Glee did it.
Glee did do it. They featured actually Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth originated the roles on Broadway, and they show up in the movie in a brief cameo. What's up?
I mean, they frequently show up in Glee as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, they both did as well. The movie, I think, ended up winning Oscars for production design and costume design, and I could definitely go with that. Another musical number I want to mention is one that Fiero leads, and it's what was it called? It was called Dancing Through Life. And it's basically a song about the joys of being stupid. And I loved it. And I'm like, this seems so appropriate for people nowadays. Unfortunately, Jeff Goldblum's big musical number was less impressive. But Goldblum, of course, is a national treasure, and everything he's in is at least somewhat entertaining, except for the Hotel Artemis. He alone was entertaining in that movie. But anyway, this is the same director. John M. Chu is the same guy that did Crazy Rich Asians. And just like that movie, it's a very high energy film, very well made. A little overlong. I don't think it needed to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. Probably could have been 2 hours and 30 minutes. Easy. But from what I understand, the stage production is less than half the length of the two movies combined. So I don't.
I guess they were trying to milk it, is what they're trying.
They were doing the Peter Jackson treatment.
But I need to see it. I have it on 4K. I just haven't gotten to it.
And that is one that's probably worth watching on 4K.
It's one of those at the length kind of intimidated me.
Same here. Plus, I was trying to coordinate watching it with other people, and that's even harder to do with a long-ass movie, especially if not everyone is into it. But yeah, overall, Wicked was quite good. Again, a little bit overrated. It is one that I would have liked to see in theaters, but I'm kind of glad I waited because that means less of a wait for the part 2.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for part 3 of Spider-Verse to come out, which I don't know whether it will or not. Because
keeps getting pushed back. That's very disappointing.
Yeah, because I've heard even rumors that they may even decide to shelve it for tax reasons.
Oh, they better not do that. That'd be some bullshit. But anyway, yeah.
So one that's not quite as serious is Despicable Me 4, which I watched on the plane. The last of the movies I watched on the plane.
Okay.
And it's all right. I mean, it's none of the movies were as good as part 1. Right. Except for maybe part 2. Part 2 was actually pretty good. That was one of those sequels that actually held its own.
Yeah.
And but part 4 essentially messes up as a supervillain that he bested, manages to get out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
And is looking for him to do revenge. So they go into a witness protection. And for the most part, it's all right. there weren't a lot of like laugh out loud things there. I mean, the villain is like a French guy who fused himself with a cockroach to become the ultimate like survivor or something like that. And and it was all right. The funniest joke in that whole thing is when some of the minions are there and one of the minions gets trapped in the snack machine, and he just basically lives in the snack machine for the whole of the film because he just has given up on getting out of there.
Yeah.
So that to me was probably the funniest joke in the film. I mean, they had stuff like that, a Fantastic Four parody and a few other things, but in reality, it really wasn't. It really wasn't the best of the films. It was better than Part 3. So, yeah.
All right.
Yep. That was one I was watching towards the end of the flight home, and I was just like looking for something mindless to watch.
Okay. So I ended up there again. There are times where I really get into going to the movies, and times where I don't. And like I said, that's become even more extreme now than it used to be. And usually, the winter season, right around Christmas ish, plus or minus a couple of weeks, is usually the time when most of the studios are putting out their Oscar bait movies. Like more and more nowadays, especially with streaming, we're seeing a lot more of that as a year-round sort of thing. But still, there are certain times a year where you're going to see it, and certain times a year where not so much, because they want those movies to be fresh in the voters' brains, And 9 times out of 10, I find myself able to get really into it for like a week or two right after Christmas. And this year, that just did not happen. So there were a few movies that I swore I was going to go see that I didn't. And Wicked was one of them. There were about 4 of them, or maybe 5, that I really wanted to go see. And Wicked was one of them. But 2 of them both came out on Christmas Day. They were both movies I really wanted to see. And they were so very different from one another that I'm like, I've got to go do this as a twofer. And it didn't happen. It just did not happen. I could not get interested in going to the movies, unfortunately. So it did not happen. But I was determined that it would happen. If nothing else, this would happen before we had this discussion. So when I was cat sitting, I made it finally happen. One of them is streaming on Disney Hulu, and the other one I was able to get a physical copy from the library. So the first one was an 8-time Oscar nominee that went home empty-handed, unfortunately. And that was James Mangold's sort of biopic of Bob Dylan called A Complete Unknown, which takes place over about a 3 to 4 year span in the early 60s and features Timothée Chalamet as the man himself, Bob Dylan. It also featured, and he was nominated, of course, for an Oscar, as Mangold was nominated for director. The movie's up for picture, etc., etc. He quickly finds himself under the tutelage of Pete Seeger, who's played by an also Oscar-nominated Edward Norton. He meets Norton at the hospital bedside of Woody Guthrie, his idol, who has suffered a stroke. I think it was a stroke. Or no, I don't think it was a stroke. I think Guthrie had some... what was it? Was it Lou Gehrig's disease? Or
I'm not sure.
I don't remember exactly, but it was a debilitating disease. Let's put it that way. And of course, Seeger and Guthrie were old friends, and Dylan meets them, and Scoot McNairy plays Guthrie, and he only has one word in the whole movie. It's a purely physical role. He did a really, I think he did a good job with it, definitely. Dylan's girlfriend is played by Elle Fanning. Her name is Sylvia Russo. And Joan Baez is a major player. Monica Barbaro was also nominated for an Oscar for playing Baez. And I would say she was good. She did a really good job. All of them. I mentioned earlier how weird it is to see Kirsten Dunst and think of her as like an actual adult. But considering that I've pretty much seen Elle Fanning grow up from a little girl, she definitely looks different in this movie too. And it's kind of interesting with some of these. Chalamet, I'll be honest, I still don't fully get the buzz. I think he's overrated as an actor, but he does a good job as Dylan. And Edward Norton, he knocked it out of the park. If we were doing the Versus Awards, he would be one of the ones I'd be pushing for supporting actor. He was really good in this role, like really, really good. And also, it's worth mentioning that James Mangold is the guy who directed Walk the Line, which was the Johnny Cash biopic that had a whole bunch of stuff.
Not to be confused with Walk Hard.
No, although Walk Hard was a direct response to it.
Yes.
Boyd Holbrook has a supporting role in A Complete Unknown as Johnny Cash. Cash actually has a large role in the film. So it was kind of, I guess, coming back to familiar territory for Mangold. But Cash is not the focus of the film. He just plays a large role. Supposedly, Dylan and Cash were, in fact, pen pals during this time. And they had a long history together. And of course, Johnny Cash had a long history together with Willie Nelson, who still tours with Bob Dylan to this day. So there's some connections there. Nelson doesn't show up in the movie, though. But it's a good movie. It's well made. I had hoped for more. Of course, being one of these biopics, it does take some liberties with history. And for example, Dylan's girlfriend has a different name because apparently he asked they give her a different name for her own privacy. Even though I think her name is a matter of public record, he just didn't feel comfortable with it being in the movie. And Dylan apparently was involved in the making of the film, but from what I understand, he gave Mangold a lot of leeway to do his own thing. The movie did have some controversy about certain things happening out of order. There is a pivotal moment late in the movie involving Pete Seeger that makes it look like Dylan and Seeger had a much deeper split than they actually did. There were things, and conversely, apparently some things went very differently between Dylan and Baez. It changed a lot, but the basic gist of it is there. It is still a very, very solid film in terms of the music. Because, Pete Seeger, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, Joan Baez, we're talking some really, really important musicians here. And it's a really good movie in terms of that. In terms of the performances, it's very well made. Was it perfect? No. Did I expect more than I got? Yes. But glad I finally saw it.
See, I had two other ones. One I'm just going to mention in passing, which is Camp Blood Clown Shark. The only entertaining part about it is that a cursed Camp Blood mask somehow lands on top of a lake trout, and the lake trout gets possessed and becomes a shark and starts killing people.
Because that makes sense.
Yeah, for
Is
kids.
it one of those trouts? Was it Leonard Part 6 that had the killer trouts?
You might as well. Yeah, it was, but yeah. One reading the Playboy at the beginning, which is probably the most entertaining thing about that entire film. Other than the fact that Bill Cosby hated it.
Right. Well,
So the last film that I can think of that I've seen for 2024 was The Painted.
okay.
And we watched this not too long ago. Now, The Painted is a horror movie about these people. They used to have this like technique apparently where they could take their souls and put them in paintings. You know, like the Harry Potter paintings where the paintings move. And that way they could live forever. And they could leave the paintings occasionally and then come back into the paintings. But then something happened, and then you had this kind of evil, like malevolent spirit that was in a painting. And it just starts tormenting this family that inherited this place, as you would.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was actually pretty good. I liked it for the family was not that stupid. Matter of fact, the first reaction to the family when the painting started messing with them was, okay, we're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, that's more than I noticed with most of these horror films.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that it was very creepy how they did it. The paint effects were very well done. It was just something we watched on a whim, and I thought it was actually quite good and quite haunting as far as films go. So, you know, if you're in the mood for a pretty entertaining horror film, The Painted is not a bad film to do.
Okay.
And that's all I got to say about that when it comes to 2024 films.
Okay. Well, I got two left. And the first one, of course, is the film that I was hell-bent on pairing with A Complete Unknown for reasons. And that was the Robert Eggers take on the classic F.W. Murnau film, which was already remade by Werner Herzog, which is Nosferatu. Because obviously a remake of a vampire flick goes perfectly with Bob Dylan biopic. I mean, you know, as you do. I'm a little surprised you didn't get to this one, to be honest.
I watched the first half of it, but we never got back to it.
Okay. So, Nosferatu stars Lily Rose Depp. She of the Johnny parentage, and I believe her mother was Vanessa Paradis. Yes, I think. Yes, Vanessa Paradis, a fairly well-known French actress who was with Depp for some time before they split. Lily Rose, I think prior to this, I had basically seen in the Kevin Smith movie Tusk and maybe a couple of other things. Also, she plays Ellen Hutter, who is affianced to Thomas Hutter, who's played by Nicholas Hoult, who, of course, is the Jonathan Harker ripoff from Nosferatu. For the two of you who are unfamiliar with the history, Murnau's Nosferatu stands in the classics of the annals of film history as supposedly the first vampire film and one of the first horror features. And it was produced at a time when Bram Stoker's estate refused to let movies touch his work. So they just changed the names. Just straight up. They just changed the names. Jonathan Harker became Thomas Hutter. Mina Harker became, I guess, Ellen Hutter. I don't remember if that was her name in the original. And Count Dracula became Count Orlok, who is played here by Bill Skarsgård. The character who basically is the Van Helsing knockoff is Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz, who is played here by Willem Dafoe, who, of course, also played Orlok in The Shadow of the Vampire. I really wanted, in preparation for this, to rewatch the original, which I have a copy of that was unwatched. I really wanted to watch the Werner Herzog one because I've never seen it, and to rewatch Shadow of the Vampire. But that just didn't happen. I did watch the original a couple months back, but I did not get to revisit the rest of it. Maybe one day. This one also features Emma Corrin as Anna Harding, Aaron Taylor Johnson as Friedrich Harding, Ralph Ineson as Dr. Wilhelm Sievers. And this being a Robert Eggers movie, it's freaking weird. It's artsy, it's slow, it's weird. And I don't know what I make of it, to be honest. I had hoped for more. I had expected weird. I saw The Lighthouse. I saw The Northman. I have not seen The Witch, so I can't comment on that one. But I know Robert Eggers makes weird-ass stuff. I know he likes to revel in very uncomfortable, creepy, weird stuff. Nosferatu is a very, very visually impressive film to look at. It does have some good acting in it. It's very intriguingly directed, but it's freaking weird, and I don't know that I would call it all that entertaining. I know I was tapping my feet a lot waiting for it to be over. And that's not always a good thing. Am I glad I finally saw it? Yes. Am I glad I paired it with A Complete Unknown? Yeah, because they were so different. But yeah, it was. I hoped for more. But the film did, like I said, it did have some striking visuals. And this was nominated for 4 Oscars in the visual categories. And I can fully agree that it deserved some of those nominations. If we were doing it was nominated for makeup and hair, cinematography, production design, and costume design. I cannot find fault in any of those. If we had done the Versus Awards, I probably would have put this forward in those categories. But yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I guess we're at the end.
Well, I did have one more.
Oh, okay. Sorry. When I heard paired it, I was so sorry.
I saved the best for last. I honestly, if I was doing the Versus Awards, there is a good chance this would have been my top pick for the year. So I may have gone with Inside Out 2. I don't know. I don't think I had anything that was a clear knock it out of the park. But this would have been a contender. And that was the movie Conclave. Conclave was, first of all, very eerie in its timing. Because this is a film that basically starts with the death of the Pope. And the movie came out, and a couple months later, there was a real-life conclave. What are the odds? But it's an Edward Berger film based on the book by Robert Harris, which, from what I understand, is supposed to be a pretty good book. And it stars Ray Fine as Cardinal Lawrence, who is the deacon in charge of the conclave when the Pope dies. His very dear friend Bellini, who is played by Stanley Tucci, is one of the front runners for the new Pope, despite the fact that he is actively campaigning not to be the Pope. And that's all the more reason people are like, it's because you don't want it that we're trying to, Tremblay is one of the people campaigning to be Pope, who is played by John Lithgow. Another one of the contenders, Adeyemi, is played by Lucian Masmati. I'm butchering that. My apologies. And Tedesco, played by Sergio Castellito, is also one of the contenders. Each one of them is a very different contender. Tedesco is very much a traditionalist. He hates the trajectory of the Catholic Church. He wants to go back to the old days where the Pope is Italian. That is how much of a traditionalist he is. Adeyemi would be the first African Pope, but he is also uber conservative. Tremblay is American and may or may not have done some things to get the position. And like I said, Bellini is just a good, decent, progressive guy who's very close to Lawrence in a lot of ways. This movie has a moment where Lawrence is giving the opening convocation for the conclave. And he is told, keep it simple, do not rock the boat. And what does he do? He gives a speech that's so good, I had to play it for other people. It's a really, 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 really good speech. There's also a character who shows up, a Benitez, Cardinal Benitez, who gives another impassioned speech later in the film. You've also got Sister Agnes, who's played by Isabella Rossellini. It is a solid film, brilliantly acted. Ray Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, they are on top as usual. Sergio Castellito and Carlos Diaz also did really, 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 really good job. They all did a great job with the acting. It's really well made. It's a political thriller about religion. And it does a really good job. It would have been a good one to pair with Dogma, to be honest. And part of me is tempted somewhere down the road to try to make that happen. Very, 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 very different film from Dogma, but it's very similar in that it asks honest questions about Catholicism and about faith. It's very critical of the Catholic Church, but very honest about looking for answers for faith and religion. And I loved it. I thought it was a really, really, really good movie. Brilliantly acted, like I said. And definitely one that I wish it was another one I wanted to see in theaters and I just didn't get there. But I finally saw it recently. I think it's streaming it's on Prime. Yeah, so I streamed it on Prime, which I hate to promote Amazon for any reason right now, but it is on Prime. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I have a number of other films I'd like to see for 24. Maybe I'll get to them.
Well, we'll end with a look to the future, or really the present, I guess.
To the future.
So, so far, both of us have watched a few 2025 films.
Right.
I would like to say, what would be currently your favorite film so far of 2025, and then B, what would be a runner-up? I mean, I can say what mine is to lead off, and we'll start with the runner-ups.
Okay.
For me, the runner-up is Pee-wee as himself.
I've heard of this.
This documentary is the last thing that Pee Wee Herman did before he died.
Mm-hmm.
Some guy had wanted to do this, and he agreed and gave this interview, and we got to have a very in-depth look at his life from early beginnings to how he acted to a lot of the issues that happened that became controversial from the fact, and it looks like most of the controversy that we knew about him when he got the whole thing in the porn theater, which is kind of silly regardless.
Yeah.
It's like, man, so you're basically saying that you might have been, because they never were able to prove it, might have been caught jacking off in a porn theater.
Yeah,
Okay.
as you do.
The child porn charges, apparently, when you finally looked in there was a reason why they just said indecent material instead, because they didn't have child porn on him.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of gay porn that he collected.
Ah.
And so they just said, well, it's indecent because it's gay porn.
Yeah.
So really and truly, every controversy around him really stems from the fact that he was actually gay.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people did not like that.
Yeah.
He was not very openly gay. And he felt he needed to hide that in order to be successful. And of course, society proved him right because of the controversies.
Because we're all a bunch of fucking prudes in this country.
Yes. So it really left me feeling sad for the man and feeling like he really did get more of the shaft than he deserved.
Right.
Because Paul Rubens was an amazing actor.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not just talking for his character Pee-wee, because he did amazing work in character acting.
He did.
I mean, some of his roles, you couldn't even tell it was him there. And you know, what, he was in this movie, and that could tell you. So, it was just kind of great. It kind of made me feel bad about the whole situation with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it does make me feel happy to see that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is getting a Criterion release in December.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to say definitively this is the runner-up and the other one's the top one, because I don't know that I have a clear number one yet. But I do think there are two that rise slightly above. And one is one of the Marvel. There have already been 3 Marvel films this year, and all of them are worth watching. They're solid films, although a couple of them more so than the other. But the one that I'm going to say is my favorite of the 3 was Thunderbolts, which I guess technically is New Avengers. Yeah. They did a weird little switcheroo with the title there, but spoiler alert. Yeah. But first of all, because Yelena Belova, Florence Pugh's character, is very nearly one of the best things that's happened to the MCU in some time. And her adopted father, Red Guardian, who's played by David Harbour, is also pretty awesome. And the two of them play well off of each other. You got Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's son, playing a key character in this film. You've also got, some other good, solid folks in there. I'm not going to go into too much because, like I said, it's this year's movies. But suffice it to say, the movie I didn't love it as deeply as I hoped to. It was one that I went into with very high expectations. They were mostly met. But I will say, even if my expectations were not fully met, it was still a solid film, and a solid visit to the theater.
It was a fun film. I mean, my biggest gripe was that Taskmaster was shown on the cover, and he was in it for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was a bait and switch there. But
so, that was probably the one thing, that my one major gripe. It wasn't the greatest film I'd seen in the year, but it definitely was fun.
Yeah.
So my top film so far that I've seen for 2025. Yes, as my wife had said, Superman. 2025.
I really wanted to go see it. I didn't get to.
And Kim's runner-up is Captain America: Brave New World. But I will say, James Gunn's Superman is my second favorite Superman film. of all the live action films.
Okay.
I would say that Man of Steel actually ranks number 4 on my list because it goes Superman 2, the James Gunn Superman. Superman, James Gunn, Superman 2, then Man of Steel on that.
Okay.
I understand people who are angry because it's not Zack Snyder and it's not Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not the Zack Snyder Superman. But neither is the Superman from the comics.
Right.
And we are living in very dark times. As far as I'm concerned, a dark and brooding Superman is out of place right now. It doesn't, well, it might be in place for the times in some ways, but as far as something to watch in this times, I'm not here to be depressed.
Now, if they were to announce that they were going to go all in and do an Injustice movie, then the dark and brooding Superman would work.
Yes. I think they should bring Henry Cavill back for that if they did that. But this one, I really generally felt good the whole way through. It's not the best film of all time.
Right.
It's probably not even the best film of the year, but it is the best film I've watched this year. And I've watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 films total. So this year.
I'm at 7 right now, I think. So
I've watched just enough to do the best feature for the Versus Awards for 2025. Now, but this one had something about it. It was fun, and it left you with a feeling of hope for humanity. It's a positive feeling, which is very rare. And having Superman be that beacon of truth, justice, and the American way, so to use the cheesy stuff, the old school American way, not the current one. To have that there, it really did feel good. I felt good at the end of the movie. I felt positivity. And there is something about that. That makes a film good. Then on top of that, the Lex Luthor that they did in this one, let me see here.
Nicholas Hoult.
He was an excellent Lex Luthor. I was a little concerned when I started, but after I got through the movie even a little bit, I was like convinced this is one of the best Lex Luthors next to Gene Hackman for me. I love that one. They started off with a Lex Luthor style plan. He was a very good Lex Luthor. I know there are a lot of people who say that, well, Eisenberg was one of the best Lex Luthors.
There are a lot of people that say that?
Well, it was the Zack Snyder choice. But to me, I do feel like this one was an amazing choice for Lex Luthor. I wasn't sure at first, but by the time I got into the movie a while, he played that part dead on. And Guy Gardner stole the show. The actor who did him was...
This is Nathan Fillion, wasn't it?
Nathan Fillion did a hilarious job with that. It was well worth seeing for all of that. And then, of course, there was Crypto. And the cameo of Supergirl at the end. So it was a feel-good film when we really need feel-good films about superheroes. If there was any time to return to the Superman of the comic books, this is the time for that. And that is why, at least for now, that was my favorite film of 2025.
Well, I will have a very different one for my number one. Although, again, it's still early going, and there's a good chance there'll be some others. This is a project from someone who did a very well-regarded, very well-received superhero film. and it's moderately well received follow up, but it's not a superhero film, but it is a supernatural film. And that was Ryan Coogler's Sinners, which featured Michael B. Jordan and reteaming the two of them after Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, Creed. They've done a bunch of stuff together there. But, and the poster would have you believe that the film stars Jordan. He does play twins. He plays Smoke and what was the other dude's name? Smoke and his Stack. Smoke and Stack plays twins. They went up to Chicago and now have come back to their southern hometown. Citified, you might say. They're hustlers. And they take in with their cousin, Sammy, who's actually the star of the movie. But Miles Catton, this is his only acting role to date. Miles Catton, I don't really know how that's supposed to be pronounced. But anyway, he basically is an aspiring musician who they take him along for the ride. They come back with a whole lot of money and the idea of setting up a juke joint in town. We've got they make the rounds. They see some of their old friends from before, friends and acquaintances. There's a musician goes by Delta Slim, who's played by Delroy Lindo. There's a woman who grew up with the boys who could pass, and in fact, she does pass. I think she's married to a white dude, but she still has a thing for, I think it's Smoke, I think was the one. And she's played by Haley Steinfeld. And there are a number of things that go down. It's a mild spoiler, apparently. Apparently, a lot of people went into this movie not knowing what it was about. But it was spoiled for me from the get-go. And to be honest, I think the clues were there from the first scene. So, whatever. It's a vampire flick. But it's a vampire flick that, if you will, has things to say. And it's got some great music. This is a really, really great. It's a borderline musical. It's not really a musical, but it's borderline. Kind of the way O Brother Where Art Thou was structured, where the music was a character unto itself. And most of the actors actually are playing their stuff. You know, they are doing stuff. And it's got, it's just a good, solid film. I enjoyed it. I really, really did enjoy it. Again, I was hoping for more. It might, but it was pretty darn good. And, yeah, that's my tentative number one for the year so far.
So, well, that's it for our little show today.
Did you say you? Sorry, I just wanted to ask though. Did you say you guys have or have not seen that one?
We have not.
Oh, I'm mildly surprised at that.
Last vampire one that we saw all the way through would have been that came out recently was the Demeter.
Which was good.
But yeah, I mean, again, next year the 30th is going to be on a Wednesday, so it'll be an easier night to get together with people, and we'll probably do something like our top 5 films from 2025 or something like that, and then we can just do that as a list together, maybe even pre-film it. But, you know, I think it's fun when you can do it live, you know?
Yeah, I have enough for a top 5.
Yeah.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
When we do it live like that, we can definitely do that. We get on there, whether we're sober, whether we're doing drugs or something.
And if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die. Please.
So
Indeed.
the things that we do for these types of things. But I'm sure that we'll have at least watched one additional 2025 film each by the time September of 2026 runs around.
There's probably a fair chance of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you come by this weekend, you'll definitely get that.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, wait, no. Oh yeah, because we did watch Elia both together last weekend. So
I will admit, I absolutely intend to watch K-pop Demon Hunters by then. I don't know when it'll happen, but I do intend to.
I plan to watch Zootopia too.
Yeah. Oh, and then there was that movie that came out right at the start of the year that we both own now. Was it The Colors Within? I'll definitely be watching that one.
I need to watch that one. I plan on watching Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So I'll catch that up to you later. There will be definitely additional films. There will be enough that not only will we probably be able to do a top 5, but we can say that we've excluded at least a few films from that top 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can say it was a little bit off. Maybe we can get Dave or somebody else to come up with us as well and give theirs and get a little bit of a chat going. I mean, we didn't have much of a viewership tonight, but we'll hopefully maybe we can move something on later on, and we'll look at something and make a little bit more of an effort. Not as much of an effort as the Versus Awards were,
right?
But definitely more than this year.
Well, and also hopefully, dear God, hopefully, this next year will not be quite as much of a shit year as the last one has been, and I might be more interested in watching movies.
Yeah, I do miss the feeling that I would get.
Yeah.
Because I used to really love the Oscars at one point.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I actually necessarily thought that these were genuinely the best films of the year, because I knew it was mostly politics. But I knew that most of the films would be the high quality films.
Yeah.
And there was a magical quality about it that just made it into a magical film experience, that old Hollywood feel.
Right.
So, I don't know. I would love to have that feeling back. I haven't had that feeling since 2020. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I would love to have that back. That would be like one of the things I would love to see. I watch stuff, but it's more aimless now. But like right now, I'm watching Teasing Master Takagi-san, which is okay.
Right.
Nothing to write home about. Oh, and tomorrow, if you guys are watching, I think it's just going to be me and Brittany. I don't know if Jacob's going to get everything watched in time.
I have not had time to even start, so yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Now, do I think that you will definitely enjoy the second half? I think if you're looking for some closure on some of that stuff, you will like that second half.
I would like to see it. It's just, yeah.
But after that, we're probably going to go back to doing Adventure Time on Animation Anticlimax, which will be a little bit easier for most people. I know we'll at least have Dave on board for that. So that's it. So some of y'all will see tomorrow, but the rest of y'all have a great evening.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
Not all.
SeptumSin versus the world. It's that place for all the boys and girls. You'll feel real safe, you'll feel real warm. It's a cozy place to ride out the storm. SeptumSin. SeptumSin and his best boy Jake. See the trends that scare us every day. Physical media is going to the side. Doctor streaming will rule the